Hey there, pirates! Welcome aboard the Anime channel. Sanji and Zoro formed a big promise during the Wano arc regarding Sanji's genetic modifications. Zoro promised to take his companion's life if he lost his emotions in the future. This promise made fans question whether this event would really happen, and if it does, what action Zoro will take in the face of this difficult decision to take Sanji's life. In today's video, we will talk about what would happen if Sanji loses his emotions because of his genetic modifications and what Zoro will do to his companion if he finds himself in this unknown. Before we dive into the video, don't forget to smash that like button. Give us a thumbs up to unlock your devil fruit powers, and hit that subscribe button to awaken. Now, let's jump into the video. Guys, in chapter 1031 of One Piece, in the exciting Wano arc, a remarkable moment occurred that involved two of the most beloved members of the Straw Hat crew, Sanji and Zoro. The central focus of this chapter was on the consequences of Sanji's genetic modification, which was awakened, revealing dark aspects of his past and an imminent threat to his own identity. The plot unfolded when Sanji, tormented by the idea that he had committed a terrible act while his genetic nature was being reconfigured, decided to make a drastic decision. In a moment of anger, he broke his Germa costume, symbolizing his refusal to be shaped by his family's genetic heritage. The oath that followed was even more impactful, as Sanji, in an act of courage and desperation, called Zoro through Denden Mushi. Sanji, worried about the possibility of losing his humanity and emotions in the process of genetic transformation, made a request to Zoro. He asked that if he were to transform into an unrecognizable person after the war on Onigashima, Zoro would take his life. Zoro is initially confused by this unexpected request, but confirms that he will fulfill this promise if necessary. However, this makes us question whether Zoro will really be able to take his companion's life, as they both have a relationship of intrigue, but at the same time with a lot of loyalty and trust. Sanji and Zoro, two very powerful and skilled members of the Straw Hat crew, have a peculiar relationship marked by intense rivalry and, at the same time, deep trust. The dynamic between these two characters is a recurring element within the work, providing comical moments, but also revealing the complexity of their connection, demonstrating that despite conflicting so much with each other, they still have mutual respect for each other. The rivalry between Sanji and Zoro has been evident since the first arcs of the story. Initially, they disagree on how to handle the situation involving Nami in the Arlong Park arc. However, their rivalry reaches a new level in Little Garden when they compete in a hunting expedition. This competition was not just limited to brute strength, but also extended to Sanji's cooking, the quality of which Zoro often belittled, constantly saying that the taste of the food the cook made was only acceptable. The insulting nicknames they exchange are one of the most comical points of the work. Zoro rarely calls Sanji by his name, preferring nicknames such as Dartboard Eyebrow, Arrow Cook, or Idiot Cook. Sanji, in turn, often refers to Zoro as Marimo, which would be a moss head, in addition to insulting the shitty Marimo swordsman or shitty swordsman. These nicknames create an atmosphere of rivalry, but also highlight the playful nature of their interactions. However, behind this facade of rivalry, there is a mutual trust that is never explicitly acknowledged. Zoro trusts in Sanji's strength and character, as evidenced by his smile when Sanji returns to fight Jabra, and his declaration that the crew would be fine in Zoo because Sanji was with them. Even though Zoro claims not to care what happens to Sanji, his actions indicate otherwise, such as when he is caught listening intently to Paycoms to ensure Sanji's safety, showing great attention to the well-being of his crewmate. When forced to fight together against a common enemy, Zoro and Sanji demonstrate incredible synergy, becoming a nearly unstoppable team. This collaboration is evident in the fight against Hamburg, Pickles, and Big Pan. Their ability to work together highlights not only their differences, but also the strength that results when they overcome their differences. Although the fights and rivalries between Sanji and Zoro are an essential part of the plot, they are visually and narratively presented as Luffy's main support wings, even being called the Wings of the Pirate King. Another point to consider in the relationship between these two pirates is that their bounties are often used as competition points, with Zoro expressing pride when his bounty is greater than Sanji's. However, when the situation is reversed after the events in Tado Land, Zoro's reaction reveals the symbolic importance of these numbers for the dynamics of their relationship. This competitive aspect adds an additional layer of complexity to their relationship, showing how sensitive they both are to their relative perceived positions within the crew. The relationship between Sanji and Zoro in One Piece is a unique mix of rivalry, respect, and trust. Despite their constant fights and insulting nicknames, they recognize each other's importance on the crew and demonstrate deep loyalty when it really matters. Because of the events caused birth by Queen during Wano and the awakening of his genetic alteration, Sanji began to develop an intriguing theory about the future of his emotions, an event that signals a potential irreversible change in his nature. Unlike his brothers, Ichiji, Yonji, and Niji, who were born with genetic changes already integrated into their biological code, Sanji was an exception. Thanks to the resistance of his mother, Sora, who managed to postpone the modification process, Sanji came into the world keeping not only his body unchanged, but also his precious emotions. However, the turning point came with the rise of his genetic modifications. The Straw Hat Cook, aware of the unique circumstances surrounding him, began to consider the possibility of following his brother's fate. The fear of losing his emotions, an aspect that had always defined him and distinguished him from his brothers, became a lingering shadow in his mind. This change in his body made Sanji fear his future and the loss of his emotions, becoming someone totally different. A crucial point of reflection that Sanji has not yet thought about is the events surrounding the existence of Reiju, his older sister. Despite her also having genetic modifications, Reiju kept her emotions intact, at least apparently. The crucial difference is when these changes were implemented. While her siblings underwent genetic changes during pregnancy, Reiju was subjected to them after birth. This distinction leads us to speculate that, perhaps, the moment in which genetic modifications are introduced into the organism has an influence on the preservation of emotions. Still, this theory is just a fragile hope in the face of the uncertainty that hangs over its future. Reiju's quirk, even though she maintains her emotions, presents an additional complexity. Although she has not lost her ability to feel, she is bound by a command that prevents her from going against the orders of her father, Judge. Although she was born with feelings just like her sister Reiju and can still use these body modifications with great ease without her emotions being taken away, she still causes great tension for Sanji. He is still completely distressed from slowly losing his feelings after this bodily change fully establishes itself in his body, thus completing the genetic modification. However, as previously stated, there is still the possibility that Sanji still has feelings for being born with him, thus giving a still unconfirmed possibility that Sanji will remain with his memories intact. But as this is just a theory, in the future we may see an outcome completely opposite to the one we theorized, an outcome in which Sanji will actually lose his emotions, and Zoro will have to fulfill his promise to take the life of his crewmate. Although Sanji has not clearly demonstrated that he is losing control over his feelings, future chapters of One Piece could show us the Straw Hat Cook slowly losing his emotions throughout this final saga. His concern about the possibility of losing his emotions is something that will torment him for a long time until he manages to find a solution to these changes in his body. The episode in which Sanji believed he was losing his feelings due to Queen's actions against a woman highlighted the character's emotional complexity. Sanji's confusion, thinking that he was the one causing the suffering, suggests that his internal battle is far from over. This does not confirm that he is losing his emotions, but rather that there is a lingering uncertainty in his mind, an uncertainty that could come to fruition if these bodily changes really start to affect your mind slowly, to the point of eliminating all your emotions, like your brothers. The narrative surrounding Sanji's possible loss of emotions is something very worrying, especially when it comes to Sanji. While the Straw Hat's cook has always been portrayed as someone emotionally intense, the idea of his internal struggle to maintain his emotions arouses fans' curiosity about how this will unfold in the next chapters. Sanji's confusion regarding the events with Queen and the woman highlights not only the character's emotional complexity, but also his sensitivity and respect for others. Zoro's promise to take Sanji's life seems to be something that could slowly be close to happening, where the consequences of Sanji's genetic modifications are about to reach a critical point. However, Zoro's true nature may be revealed when that pivotal moment arrives, the moment when Sanji loses all his emotions and becomes someone entirely different. Zoro is known for his swordsmanship ethics, his commitment to his crew, and his constant quest for strength. The decision to take the life of a companion, even in the face of a promise, can be an emotional and moral dilemma for him. Some argue that Zoro may seek alternatives, such as finding a way to reverse Sanji's genetic modifications, rather than resorting to the extreme measure of taking his life. Furthermore, Zoro's promise could be a way of challenging Sanji to fight against the changes imposed by his genetic inheritance, encouraging him to maintain his humanity even in the face of difficulties. The outcome of this promise between Zoro and Sanji will certainly be accompanied by intense emotions and revelations, providing a complete change in the history of One Piece, causing not only these two to suffer because of this intense decision. Zoro Zoro, as a dedicated swordsman, could see the promise made to Sanji as a last resort, an extreme measure that would only be considered if all other options failed. Furthermore, Zoro's promise could serve as a catalyst to motivate the crew to work even closer together. Each member, inspired by the friendship and loyalty they share with Sanji, would contribute their unique talents and abilities to find a way to help Sanji. Thus, instead of simply fulfilling Zoro's promise, the narrative could unfold into an exciting journey to save Sanji, exploring scientific ways to stop the process of changing Sanji's body, or even remove these genetic modifications. However, in the One Piece universe, the weight of promises is something deeply ingrained in the characters' personalities. Zoro, in particular, is known for his steadfastness in keeping his promises and taking his commitments seriously. If, by chance, Zoro interpreted that the only way to fulfill the promise made to Sanji was to take his life, the narrative could follow an even darker and more complex path. Zoro is a man of his word, and his actions are often guided by his code of honor as a swordsman. If he saw the promise as the only option to preserve Sanji's integrity or protect him from an existence he considered worse than death, the moral tension of this dilemma could play out intensely in the story. The Straw Hats, known for their unity and unshakable friendship, could be divided over this decision, creating an internal conflict that would reverberate throughout the crew. The search for an alternative solution could become a race against time, with the crew trying to find a way to preserve Sanji's life and emotions before Zoro feels he needs to act on his promise. If Zoro went so far as to fulfill his promise and take Sanji's life, the consequences for the Straw Hat crew would be devastating. The death of a member as essential as Sanji would have a profound emotional impact on each member of the crew, shaking the foundations of friendship and loyalty that hold the group together. Luffy, as the captain, would be hit particularly hard. The loss of Sanji, such a close and loyal friend, could shake Luffy's confidence in his ability to lead and protect the crew. The guilt and grief would also fall on Zoro, who would have to deal not only with Sanji's death, but also with the weight of his own decision, making Zoro carry this great weight on his shoulders for the rest of his life. The dynamics within the crew would undergo irreparable changes. The friendly rivalry between Zoro and Sanji, which had always been a defining feature, would disappear, leaving a void in the crew's dynamics. The other members would have to adapt to a new reality, where Sanji would be missed not only in battles, but also in the everyday interactions that make the Straw Hats a peculiar family. Furthermore, Sanji's death could raise questions and doubts regarding the crew's methods and ethics. The Straw Hats have always sought unconventional solutions and often challenged established norms, but taking the life of a companion would be an extraordinarily drastic act. It could spark divisions and debates about the crew's true purpose and the lines they are willing to cross in the name of friendship and common purpose. Faced with the possibility of Sanji losing his emotions due to genetic modifications, it is plausible that the other members of the Straw Hats, instead of simply accepting the promise to take Sanji's life, actively seek a solution to restore his humanity. Luffy's crew has always been characterized by their determination to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. Each member has played a crucial role in critical moments, showing that the crew's true strength lies in unity and the search for creative solutions. The crew, known for their resilience and fighting spirit, would likely come together to find a way to reverse or bypass the genetic modifications that threaten to transform Sanji into something unrecognizable. The Straw Hats have faced countless adversities along the Grand Line, and in each difficult situation, their strength has been their ability to adapt and find innovative solutions. If Sanji is on the verge of losing his emotions, the crew will likely embark on an intensive journey to discover a cure, seek help from powerful allies, or face the challenges necessary to restore Sanji's humanity. The emotional impact within the crew would be profound, and, inevitably, Luffy would lead the charge to save Sanji. His obstinacy in never abandoning a companion would be at the center of this mission. Nami, with her intelligence and strategic ability, could play a crucial role in finding a solution. Perhaps she would seek guidance from renowned scientists or draw on knowledge gained throughout her journeys to find a way to reverse Sanji's genetic modifications. Usopp, the invention expert, could be engaged in creating devices or finding substances that could neutralize the effects of genetic modifications. Her ability to create unlikely solutions would be vital at this moment. Chopper, the crew's doctor, would likely devote all his efforts to understanding the nature of Sanji's genetic modifications and seeking a cure. His advanced medical knowledge, combined with his ability to transform into different forms, could be crucial in research. Frankie the Carpenter could be called upon to adapt the Thousand Sunny to meet specific challenges related to Sanji's search for a cure. He could modify the ship to navigate dangerous seas or create special equipment needed for the journey. Robin, with his great intelligence and strong connection to the Revolutionary Army, would look through these allies for important ways in which they could save Sanji. Brook, with his unique ability to explore the spiritual world, could seek knowledge in mysterious places and come into contact with supernatural beings who may have information that could somehow help Sanji's condition. Jinbe, with his experience as a navigator, could guide the crew through the unknown, important, and dangerous seas that may be associated with Sanji's search for a cure. This journey would not only be a physical quest, but also an emotional exploration for the Straw Hats. Not only would they have to confront external enemies, but they would also have to find ways to save Sanji. Zoro's decision to take Sanji's life would be constantly questioned and debated within the crew. Members would have to find a balance between loyalty to the promise made and determination to save a dear friend. A difficult choice in which they will have to act as quickly as possible before Sanji even starts to lose all of his feelings and ends up doing things that could cause great damage to the world of One Piece. Currently, in One Piece, the Straw Hats find themselves on Egghead's Island facing very powerful friends who are preventing them from advancing in their adventure in search of the last road poneglyph that remains to be found. Despite still being on that island, the Straw Hats have already hinted a few times that they want to go to the island of Elbaf, a place where all the information collected from the island of Ohara is hidden. In addition, Shanks was on that island recently and may have left some important clues for the Straw Hats on that island as to what the future of the Redhead Pirates might be. Elbaf's arc has been widely desired by fans as a possible turning point for the Straw Hats and could also have a great influence on Sanji's plot, especially considering that now in this final saga of One Piece, several important events are happening, and this possible loss of emotions for Sanji begins in this Elbaf arc. Elbaf is known as the Land of Giants and has a rich history in the world of One Piece. Given the importance of the island and its potential to better develop the genetic changes made to Sanji, it is possible that signs that he is losing his emotions will begin to emerge in this arc. Sanji's relationship with the Giants, including Big Mom and her crew, could play a significant role. The island of Elbaf may also provide clues to methods or information that could be useful in the search for a cure or reversal of Sanji's genetic modifications. It would therefore be in the final stretch of Elbaf's arc that Sanji's feelings would begin to fade more clearly, leading the Straw Hats to take an initiative to save their companion. Faced with growing evidence that Sanji is losing his emotions, the Straw Hats would be faced with a race against time to find a solution and save their valuable companion and manage to find the ultimate road poneglyph as quickly as possible before the other pirates. Considering Elbaf's arc only revealed the tip of the iceberg about Sanji's genetic modifications, the Straw Hats would have to gather crucial information to fully understand what's going on in the outside world. In this sense, the search for the last road poneglyph, which remains before the most powerful pirates can find the Raftel, becomes even more urgent. With the possible imminent loss of Sanji's feelings during the Elbaf arc, the Straw Hats would find themselves facing a critical situation. Zoro's promise to take Sanji's life would become a constant shadow, weighing on the crew. However, before this terrible decision needed to be made, an initiative would be launched to save the Straw Hat cook. Luffy and his crew put the mission of saving Sanji first, then looking for ways as quickly as possible to restore Sanji's feelings and prevent genetic modifications from evolving. The crew would unite behind a common goal, combining their unique skills and determination to save one of the crew's most valuable members. The search for a cure would turn into a complex and difficult journey, since the Straw Hats would sail the seas in search of information, allies, and resources that could lead to Sanji's salvation. The news about Sanji's condition would spread among his family, who are famous for these genetic modifications, making Judge interested in learning more about his son Sanji's case. During this search, the Straw Hats would also find themselves faced with the need to find the last road poneglyph that would be missing before the most powerful and dangerous pirates in the world managed to gather all the information necessary to reach the Raftel. While searching for clues and information about a cure for Sanji's genetic modifications, the crew would become involved involved in unexpected battles and alliances. They would explore important information about ways to cure Sanji of this completely unknown modification of his, in addition to also seeking knowledge about this science through famous scientists such as Vegapunk himself, who worked alongside Judge during the beginning of this genetic modification research. At the same time, internal tensions within the crew would increase. Zoro's promise would hang over them, and the search for a cure would become a true testament to their loyalty and friendship. Luffy, with his unwavering determination, would lead the crew with the clear objective of not only saving Sanji, but also reaching the Raftel before his opponents. Meanwhile, the Straw Hats' opponents would also be on the move. The world's most powerful pirates and governments would be aware of the crew's search for a cure, and the remaining Road Poneglyph. Intense conflicts would arise, challenging the Straw Hats' limits and testing their resilience, making this crew's two objectives even more difficult. The journey to save Sanji and find the last Road Poneglyph would become a tangle of events with several twists, sacrifices, and impactful discoveries in the world of One Piece. Sanji's fate and the path to Raftel would become intertwined, and the Straw Hat crew would face challenges that would shape not only Sanji's future, but also the course of the Grand Line. Despite this tense scenario in which Sanji will lose his emotions, there are still many possibilities in which Sanji can recover them and still be able to maintain this improvement in his body, starting with the possibility that the partnership established between the Straw Hats and Vegapunk would become fundamental in the desperate search for a cure for Sanji's genetic modifications. Vegapunk, known for his mastery in advanced science, genetics, and technology, would become a source of hope for the crew. The first clue in the Straw Hats' journey could be the location of secret laboratories from the former Mads. During his collaboration with the Straw Hats, Vegapunk could reveal the existence of secret facilities where he conducted crucial experiments and research together with other scientists. These labs could contain valuable data, prototypes of experimental technology, and perhaps even information about other cases similar to Sanji's that Judge practiced on throughout his research. The Straw Hat crew would embark on a journey together with Vegapunk in search of acquiring more knowledge and research carried out by Judge, in search of finding some way to stabilize Sanji's genetic evolution or even be able to make her adapt to the cook's body without removing his emotions. In addition to Vegapunk, the ancient scientists who participated in Mads would also become a crucial piece in the search for a cure. Scientists like Caesar Clown, Queen, and Stussy could be of great help in developing this possible cure. Each scientist could contribute unique information based on their areas of expertise. Caesar Clown, for example, could provide knowledge about genetic manipulation, while Queen, with her experience in advanced technology, could help decipher complex codes and designs found in the genetics research left by Judge. The dynamics between these characters, each bringing their unique experience to help Sanji's recovery, would add a very interesting arc to follow, highlighting the importance of collaboration and diversity of knowledge in solving complex scientific problems. The search for clues in secret laboratories would not just be a matter of finding documents. The Straw Hats would also face practical challenges related to the advanced technology left behind by Judge, enigmatic research that would have to be studied carefully to be able to understand it. Discovering Vegapunk's scientific discoveries related to genetic modifications would be a race against time. There could be prototype devices that control or reverse genetic modifications, and the Straw Hats would need to decipher how these devices work while facing opponents who could also seek these secrets. During their search, the Straw Hats could also encounter unexpected allies or adversaries who share an interest in Judge's advanced technology. Other organizations, such as the Navy, Cypherpole, or even rival pirates, could be lurking, seeking to leverage the discoveries for their own purposes. The need to protect the information discovered would add a layer of urgency and tension to the narrative. This would also open up space for temporary alliances and intense confrontations, as different factions would compete for possession of the knowledge that could save Sanji. By delving into the secret laboratories of the former Mads, relying on the intelligence of former scientific members, and facing practical challenges and powerful enemies, the Straw Hats would embark on an epic journey. The search for Sanji's cure would not only test the crew's resilience, but also provide moments of revelation, character development, and surprises, elevating the narrative to new emotional and intellectual heights. Another solution would be for Judge to participate in creating a cure. Judge's inclusion in the narrative adds an intense emotional dimension to Sanji's search for a genetic cure. This tumultuous relationship between father and son not only delivers captivating emotional drama, but also explores themes of redemption, forgiveness, and the evolving nature of family relationships. Upon learning of Sanji's condition, Judge would be faced with the consequences of his past choices. The decision to genetically modify Sanji, initially seen as a way to strengthen Germa 66's bloodline, now reveals itself as an ethical and moral dilemma. The complexity of this situation forces Judge to revisit his role as a father and leader, triggering a journey in search of helping his son. This potential redemption would make Judge a more charismatic and empathetic character, transforming him from a cold antagonist into a human character, capable of learning and evolving. The narrative delves deeper into Judge, revealing the ways in which he managed to manipulate his children's genetics, while also revealing the reasons behind his past decisions. Your own internal conflicts, external pressures, and the search for an invulnerable lineage can be explored. This not only humanizes Judge, but also makes him a possible future ally for the Straw Hats. The collaboration between Judge and Sanji to find a cure creates opportunities for powerful emotional moments. The evolution of this relationship from hostility to cooperation highlights the potential for growth and forgiveness. Mutual understanding, difficult conversations, and emotional confrontations contribute to a shared journey of healing that is not only physical, but also emotional. Bringing these two characters together as a family, Judge and Sanji's search for a cure, would not be easy. In addition to the scientific and moral challenges, they face many difficulties in creating this possible cure, preventing Sanji from losing his emotions. These challenges would test Judge's resolve to change and protect his son, while Sanji would have to overcome his own emotional reservations regarding his father. The climax of the narrative would be the making of a final decision. Judge, having experienced a personal transformation, would be faced with the opportunity to sacrifice his own ambitions for the sake of Sanji's health and happiness. This decision would not only symbolize Judge's redemption, but would also lay the groundwork for a potential reconciliation between father and son, making Judge an even greater presence in Sanji's life. The Straw Hats' decision to seek help from other mad scientists further expands the complexity of the narrative, providing a journey rich in scientific revelations and unexpected challenges. Each member of MADS adds a unique perspective on this cure, turning Sanji's search for a cure into an in-depth exploration of Germa 66's past and the implications of genetic modification. Other scientists mentioned previously who could act in individual ways and who could have a big role in this arc and search for a cure for Sanji would be Stussy, Queen, and Caesar Clown, known for their ability to create and collect information, may have access to data-crucial information about genetic modifications in general. Stussy has a large network of contacts, and her cunning could lead the Straw Hats to secret laboratories and hidden records. However, their loyalty to pirates creates distrust and ethical challenges for the crew. Queen, an expert in cybernetics, could offer broader assistance in the technological modifications implemented in Sanji. Her eccentricity would add a touch of humor to the narrative, while her expertise in biotech modifications would pave the way for creative and technologically advanced solutions. Caesar Clown, known for his experiments with smiles and his expertise in chemistry, would be fundamental in understanding the substances used in Sanji's genetic modifications. However, his unstable nature and troubled history with the Straw Hats would introduce an element of unpredictability and distrust. The search for MADS members would not be simple. The Straw Hats would face specific challenges associated with each scientist, from facing powerful pirates or even facing the Navy to free them. Interaction with MADS scientists would reveal intriguing details about Sanji's past, exposing surprising connections between Germa 66 and other powerful figures in the world of One Piece. These revelations could trigger new missions and developments in the narrative, expanding the story beyond the search for a cure. By expanding the narrative to include the search for the other mad scientists, the Straw Hats' adventure in search of the One Piece would have to be postponed to resolve this issue, mixing elements of suspense, intrigue, and exciting discoveries as the Straw Hats fight to save Sanji from his fate. Finally, Sanji's trajectory in the face of genetic modifications becomes even more intriguing when considering the example of his sister, Reiju, in which she was mentioned previously in the video. The preservation of Reiju's emotions despite genetic alterations sheds light on the possibility of Sanji retaining his feelings, at least initially, making it possible for Sanji to still be able to do something about his body modification. This divergence that only happened in Sanji and Reiju shows that there are still other possibilities that will allow Sanji to continue with his emotions despite having these changes in his body. While Sanji's brothers underwent these changes during pregnancy, Reiju underwent genetic changes after birth. This temporal difference can be a determining factor in the preservation of emotions. Although Reiju has maintained her emotions, her situation is complex due to the connection with commands imposed by Judge. This makes Reiju unable to live the way he wants, even though he has this great power in his body. However, even though she has this great difficulty linked to her cells, she can still use this body modification to her advantage, in addition to also having feelings, making her human and capable of feeling various feelings. Sanji, upon learning of Reiju's situation, could feel calmer and more confident that this possibility of still being able to maintain his feelings exists. His current distress is not just about the possibility of losing his emotions, but also about the uncertainty surrounding how genetic modifications will affect his identity and his actions. The possibility of Sanji preserving his emotions, based on the theory of the temporal difference of modifications, offers great hope for this character. However, this hope is fragile given the complexity of the process and the lack of certainty about how the genetic changes will affect the Straw Hat Cook. The narrative of One Piece, known for its unpredictable twists, leaves open the possibility of an outcome opposite to that theorized. The uncertainty regarding Sanji's future creates suspense and keeps us eager to discover the character's fate. The tension Sanji feels as he contemplates the possibility of losing his emotions slowly intensifies as the bodily changes take hold. This internal conflict promises to be a crucial point in the character's evolution, testing his emotional strength and identity. If Sanji really has no more salvation and Zoro has to take his life, a major world change within this universe would happen. Several unexpected events that could cause a great impact for the Straw Hats will happen if Sanji really loses his life once and for all. That's a wrap for today's content. We hope you enjoyed it and want to share your thoughts on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and catch you in the next video. Take care and stay awesome.